Despite not being at all familiar with the Evil Dead franchise and its previous installments before coming into the film, it never felt like a mistake on my end. With this horrifying, gag-inducing gorefest, Lee Cronin is able to craft a story that feels part of a larger tale while not alienating new audiences such as myself. Set in a confined apartment, Evil Dead Rise exhibits the tragic deterioration of a family at the hands of demons, which is only able to be as impactful as it is thanks to compelling performances by the film's leads and enough time spent establishing the struggling, tight-knit family. This was easily the closest I've ever come to stopping a movie halfway because of the gore. I'm not one to frighten easily, or even gag easily at the sight of blood or guts, but there were multiple moments here where I just had to really look away for a second and ground myself. There were times when the gore can be over the top, but there were also times when the movie is very unique with its violence, like eating an eyeball out of its socket and spitting it into another person's mouth for them to choke on. It was hard to watch, but almost always in a good way, making the audience uncomfortable in a variety of ways. I've always been a big fan of supernatural horror movies, less so of the slasher ones, but this one was a good blend of both elements, having the demons but also the insane amounts of blood and gore. I was not at all familiar with this franchise, or really that it was a franchise at all. Initially, when I had heard about this film, I thought that maybe it was a one-off horror flick, and it still works that way. There are elements of the story and mythos that I could feel connected to a larger world, but there was always enough information to keep me informed throughout. I was still able to understand and enjoy everything it had to offer. The movie starts out at a remote cabin with 3 young adults, and I was shocked at how quickly the horror began. I try to go into many movies, especially horror ones, knowing as little about the plot as possible. So when it opens up on this remote location, I assumed that was our setting for the movie. So the almost instantaneous violence really caught me off guard, but it did such a good job at hooking me on the story and this world. Also, that title card may have been one of the best I've ever seen, with the way it rises up in the background and reflects off the water. Amazing. Once we get to the present day with this family, the movie does a good job of establishing the bond between characters before the hauntings begin. The inclusion of Beth being pregnant felt out of place or unnecessary at times, but especially during her scenes with Cassie, it adds so much more value and weight to their interactions. A big thing with any thriller or horror movie is the usual illogical decisions that come with it to help amp up the tension and suspense. Evil Dead Rise was not immune to some of these moments, specifically opening up and diving deeper into the books and records, which I guess can be chalked up to curiosity, or Cassie opening the door halfway through, which was honestly just a bad, incomprehensible decision on her part, but it didn't have too big of an impact on the story itself, so it didn't linger in my mind. Other than that, it felt like mostly logical and realistic decisions. Instead, the tension and action are built up as we see the demonic presence continue to spread and get even more powerful. Lighting and music are crucial in horror movies to establish the world and create tension, and right off the bat, this movie was successful in that, and it really carried all the way through. The makeup and visual effects made everything look realistic, so it never took me out of the story. There was an occasional shot once in a while that distracted me more than adding tension, but there were few and far between. Although the majority of the movie feels like quick action and violence, there were still good lulls in between big moments that allow the audience to breathe and relax a little bit before ramping up, making those moments have even more of an impact than they would have otherwise. Comment down below what you thought of Evil Dead Rise, and what movie reviews you'd like to see in the future. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more movie content, and follow me on my various platforms listed in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.